Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? Alright, today's video, it is being problematic again. So we're going to talk about Top Thrill 2 here for a little bit. Let's see what we can get into on this video.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Okay, so Top Thrill 2 opened up in 2024, ran for like 9 days, and then shut down for the rest of the year in 2024. 2025 now, it opened back up, off to a solid start, but now we seem to have a problem again. Not sure really what's going on with it, so I wanted to say let's check into this and see what's happening. Now, earlier this week, one of my viewers is there all the time, and they sent me some videos and pictures and stuff, and I really appreciate it when people send me this sort of information. It really helps try to decipher some of these bugs and things going on later on down the road. Again, so for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm not affiliated with Cedar Point. I'm not in their business at all. I don't know anything about it. This is all just my years of experience speaking as a ride mechanic. I'm just speculating as to what might possibly be going on with this ride. I don't have any insider information, no nothing like that. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, right? This is all just speculative at this point in time. All right, so the first picture I was sent was one of my viewers was off-ride, and they were looking out and saying, hey, the blue train is offline now. Don't know why, but they thought I should see it. So they're like, hey, here's some pictures of the blue train. It's like, okay, don't really see what's going on there. And then they said, I've got a video for you. It's of the silver train with blue seatbacks on it. All right. Hard to see through this grating. Good job, Cedar Point. You guys really know how to get it in front of people. There's that silver train. Look at that. There's some blue seatbacks on there. Yeah, okay. So let's rewind it a little bit and look into it. Yeah. The rest of the train looks like it's got silver seatbacks on it, but that first coach for some reason has blue seatbacks on it. Now, why would you do that? Why would you take one train apart and put the seatbacks on another train? All I could think of in this particular scenario is that something happened to the other two seatbacks. Now, normally seatbacks, this sort of material, is made with fiberglass or polyester resin, if you want to call it that. It's polyester resin slash fiberglass. Normally those seatbacks are made out of that. Now, remember last year the ride pretty much didn't run all year long, but they did. We saw them testing. They took those seatbacks off and on. They took seats off and on and put them on the trains, and they did all sorts of stuff with that. So it is quite possible that the seatbacks have developed cracks in them. At least two of them have developed some cracks in them. Not from stress or the heaviness of the ride. It could have been something simple, like while the train was being worked on, something hit them and cracked them. Fiberglass is easy to damage if you don't treat it properly, so there's a good chance a mechanic accidentally dropped one and it cracked, or they accidentally left the hardware loose and it started to like mess up the holes where the hardware couldn't tighten all the way back down again. There's plenty of stuff that can happen to things like seatbacks that are almost 100% non-ride related. Like they could have been storing a seatback somewhere and then something fell on top of them, or something else was accidentally set on top of them. Maybe cracked them. Nobody knew about it. They put them on, and then after a couple of days of operation or a week or two of operation, they start seeing working dust coming from the cracks. And it's like, uh-oh, we have to fix these. Well, if they didn't have seatbacks in stock, which I don't recall ever seeing seatbacks in inventory anywhere. I know I had every train I had no spare seatbacks unless they were coming off of another train. If I had trains 1 and 2 in operation, I had a third one in rehab, and I messed up a seatback, I can take one from that third train in operation. Now, one of the downsides to having colored trains like blue, silver, and I believe there's a black one on there, One of the downsides to that is that if you have to do the whole rob Peter to pay Paul thing, like take a blue seat back off and put it on the silver train, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So it's like, I don't think anything was really going on with this. Plus, just a couple days after I got this video, I got another person who responded back and said, okay, the trains are back to normal. All the silver train has all of its silver seatbacks on it, and the blue train has all of its blue seatbacks on it. That goes along with somehow one of the seatbacks cracked for some reason. Something ran into it or something like that. Probably not ride related. And they had to take it off and make a repair. And unfortunately, they had to sideline one of the trains to do it because they did not want to run one of the trains without seatbacks on it, because that's not good. You expose all that equipment and sensors and everything back there to the elements. So typically don't want to do that. You would just sideline the train. So then the past couple days, we've got this, okay, Top Thrill 2 went down and it hasn't come back up yet. And everyone was starting to speculate as to like, well, what's going on? The whole ride is down, not just a train, not just one or the other. The whole thing went down and now it hasn't come back up yet. So we're all starting to play the speculation game. Hey, what's going on? This and that. I did have someone at the park that is not maintenance. It's not a maintenance person at all. So even though it's coming from a park person, you still have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Because even if it was a maintenance person, right, sometimes they aren't told the same information either. So you always have to take everything with a big grain of salt. Just look at the clues. This is what I do for these videos. Just look at the clues and take the context for what it is, okay? I have a person at the park said it looks like one of the cables on the back tower has snapped. And they said they think Zamperla is there looking at it. Okay, all right, so Zamperla is there. Probably not uncommon for a ride like this with as much visual, as many people has been looking at that. It's probably not uncommon that the manufacturer is still around, or at least a representative of the manufacturer is still around. So one thing I did is I started tearing off looking for the cables on the back tower. What is the cable on the back? What cable on the back tower? So I found a really high quality picture over on X. This is the Top Thrill 2 Spike from r/roller coasters, Feeling Reason 2373. So I looked at this picture. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Let me zoom in on it. That's when I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, wow, that is a good quality picture. Like, holy crap, look at that. So I'm looking at this tower, I'm looking at the back of it here, and I'm saying, where are the cables? I see this looks like a conduit running up these stairs, and the only cable I could see is this cable right here. Now I'm already zoomed in on this, so I can't really zoom in on it much more. But there's this cable running right down the center of the ladder here. It looks like it's hooked on to the ladder, and it's running down the center of it. Now, one thing I don't see on this ladder is they typically look like a little track or a flat bar that either runs up the center or very close to it, and that's where you would attach your climbing harness to. So when you climb up a ladder like that, you have to be wearing a climbing harness, and you have to typically have a hook, a grab or something that's hooked up to at least one cable and another thing. So if I'm going up the ladder and I have my harness hooked up to the cable, as I go up it has a cable slide, so it's always as high as I want it to be. And then I would have to use, let's say, the ladder as my second tie-off point, because most regulations require that you're tied off with 2 different points. So it's like, okay, in this particular one, I don't see that. I don't see that at all. So I think that cable that's running up and down the center right there, I think that is the climbing cables. Those are the ones that you would connect your harness to, which it's okay, but they have to be tied off, supported, something to these little baskets as you go up, because you don't just want that cable hanging slack the entire time. But I looked at it from a different point of view of Sim and said, hey, that one of the cables broke. See, as it comes down here, you can kind of see just barely. It kind of looks like the cables have separated, and you can barely see two of them right there. Now, the other tower that you could see off on the other side over there, that tower doesn't have this problem because they actually have a little elevator that goes up and down the back of it. So they don't need the climbing harness tie-in points like they do on this spike, because they'd have to climb the spike physically. I'm imagining on the daily they have to climb the spike. So I don't see any other support cables tied to this. So someone who was at the park today, this being Sunday, they sent me this photo. They said there's these cables that are hanging down the back of the ride now. And now I've gone through a bunch of other websites, a bunch of other photos, and I still can't find these cables. So this is where, for the community here, because a lot of people here know a lot of information, have you guys seen these cables before? Are they normally spread out on this back tower like that? Are they in the back? Are they... See, the way they're sitting here, I'm talking about these guys right here. There's two cables right there coming down. Those cables don't look like climbing cables, because climbing cables would be right over here, tucked up onto the ladder. In fact, you can kind of see something just outside of it, but they're on the other side of this beam. They don't look like climbing cables to me. But yeah, the person today was said, hey, these cables are hanging down from the back tower, and it looks like they're not anchored at the bottom. They might be, I don't know, missing, broken, something. I asked them to see if they can get a better shot for me. They were able to come back, and they were able to get the cables down at the bottom. You got to remember, the size of the structure is huge, right? For people that haven't been there before, you're staring at a 400-foot structure. So it's like, even though it may look simple from far away, it's only like really good cameras and stuff that can really zoom into these things to actually see what's going on. I mean, like, really high dollar stuff. For like someone like me, I go with my phone. Like, I'm not going to be able to see where those cables go to at all, because phones typically just can't zoom into that sort of thing. So in this picture, they've got the cables coming down here. This is the structure. And they've got the cables coming down, and then they wrap around this leg. Now, even if these were climbing cables like I was talking about earlier, where I said, oh, I think those might be climbing cables, you typically don't do this at the bottom. Typically, climbing cables come down, and they have grabs and stuff at the bottom that terminate so they can keep the cable tensioned while the ride is in operation. The worst thing you could do would be to have one of these cables come loose and then start swinging out, maybe getting possibly close to the track. Really bad stuff. You don't want that at all. So it's like here, it's like, okay, they've taken this cable, and if you could see down here in this area, they've just wrapped it around the leg. Let me see if I could zoom in on this. Okay, so the cables come down, and here's the first part of it right here, wrapped around the leg. And then the second part of it comes right around here, and it looks like it's just hanging down. This is not climbing stuff, in my opinion. This is not climbing stuff, because you typically don't do that with these cables. Even if I was actively going up and down the tower, and I'm just like, we're not going to do anything today, I'm just going to leave those cables laying straight up against the ladder of the tower. Like, I'm not going to bother trying to tie them off or do anything else. And if I did, Personally, I would just take a piece of rope and cinch it down to the ladder so wind or anything can't grab them, just so they're not sitting there flapping against the side of the ladder all day. Things that are rated for climbing and safety, once they slap things, that's really not good for them. It's an impact on the cable. It could damage the cable. So you really want to make sure climbing cables are always kind of like taut and away from other stuff. I don't think that's the case. So in all the pictures I've looked at online and all the other stuff, I still can't find these cables. But again, because of the sheer size of all this component, 400 feet tall, these footers, these columns are huge in diameter. It's not just surprising that the cameras aren't picking up the cables. They're there, but the cameras don't see them. So going to rely on some feedback from all of you. It's like, have you been there in person? Have you seen these cables? What do they anchor to at the top? What do they anchor to at the bottom? Because apparently it might be possible that one of these cables has snapped. All right, so second part of the video. Why would you get a snapped cable? Well, they're taught between something, just like any structure cable is, assuming, right, grain of salt, assuming these are structure cables, they're going to be taught between 2 points. And if the structure moves around enough and wobbles enough, you could eventually make one like a little banjo and go boing and break the string, right? And then you have a cable hanging down there. Is that what happened? Don't know, because we still don't know what these cables are. Right? Lots of speculation in this video, I understand. But I know if anybody can figure this out, it's this channel. We can figure this out. All right, so what's the next step from here? Well, if you break a cable on something like this, bare minimum, and again, this is just basic industry maintenance stuff I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Zamperla. I'm not talking about Top Thrill 2. I'm just saying a piece of equipment, a structure somewhere, has snapped a cable. What do? It's like, well, you have to replace that cable. So you need to get another one. 400-foot long cable might be a little hard to come by. Now, not something crazy like it's going to be down for months, but it might be something like it might take a handful of days, maybe even a week, to get a cable manufacturer to go like, yes, here is the exact cable you need, especially this. It's probably a metric diameter, which in the US might be a little harder to come by. So it's like, okay, here's the cable that you need. It might be on its way from Zamperla coming over. Then the other problem is why did it snap in the first place? It's like, okay, did the structure move around too much? Was it over-tightened? What is happening to this? So if there is no smoking gun, which means that there's no loose connections, there's no anything else that they could tell like why this happened. So the replacement would be you're going to replace however many cables are there, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4. You're going to replace all of those cables, tension them properly between the points, and now, after this comes back up and running, there's going to be a checklist, probably every single day. A mechanic, somebody is going to have to go there and check the tension on those cables. Are they super worried about them? Not probably super worried about them, but they want to know what's happening to them. If I go up there myself and I go, okay, cables, let's say there's 4 of them, and I check 1, 2, 3, 4, and the tension's good on all 4 of them. Open the right up, good. Next day I come back, 1, 2, 3, 4, good. Next day I come back, 1, 2, 3 is weak now. Why? Why is 3 weak? 4 is good. Okay. Then I would contact manufacturer. 3 is weak. What do we do? Okay, new cable, tension, so go ahead and tension the cable back. Okay, tension number 3 back. Go 1, 2, 3 next day. 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all good. Next day, 1, 2, 3, 4, all good. Next day, 1, 2, 3 is weak again. It's like, what's going on here? So you can only tension these cables a handful of times before you worry about stressing the cable, and then it snaps again, which nobody wants. So that would be a future problem down the road, and then they'd have to look at something as to what is going on. Could it be just something has shifted, that something happened? Those cables had probably been there since the ride was built. High winds, cable slapping up against something. Who knows? Too many variables to say. I know all the people, I'll get them all in the comments. Yeah, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. Not Zamperla is like, whatever. This is all just stuff we have to go through. It doesn't matter. The ride's built, it's installed, it's running now. It is now the problem of the parks to keep it up and running. So it doesn't matter, because you're not going to get a bunch more capital to redo this again. So just take that little thought and out of your head. Let's fix this problem now. Let's get this back up and running now. Get this open for everybody to come see. Depending on the length of the repair, I will physically be here in 2 weeks. So if it's not fixed in 2 weeks, I'll get to go look at the infamous lawn ornament, as a lot of people have called it. I'll get to go look at this, and then I can speculate in person what's happening there. But honestly, I probably expect to see it down this week, unfortunately. Probably expect to see it down this week. And then towards the end of the week, Thursday-ish, handful of testing going on. And then they're probably checking stuff again. And hopefully the weekend they open it back up. I don't know. Again, lots of speculation. And a lot of my speculation is realistically, like, because I can't even find these cables in other pictures, I can't say for sure this is a really solid thing that's going on. Because right now, I don't even know what these cables are. Heck, these cables could be temporary that they brought in for something else, but I can't find them in another picture, and it's really odd the way that they're laid about the ride right now. That is an odd thing. So, anyways, let me know what you think. Anybody else have more information to add on to this? If you want, you could always just comment down below, pick it up and run with it. You could email me, RyanTheRideMechanic@yahoo.com. You could also send me pictures on that email if you have it. If you need credit for a picture, please try to put some sort of a watermark or marking on that picture, because I get pictures all the time and I don't necessarily remember to mark them with people's names and stuff if they want credit for that information. So, okay, like, subscribe, do all that stuff downstairs. It does help me out. I do appreciate it. Just a quick update. And let me know what you think. All right. Stay off the air gates. Bye.